All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Carly. I'm the founder and a project manager at Toolakea Creative. We're a digital outsourcing agency, and welcome to our community class event. So, before we get started, I'm just going to do a quick acknowledgement of country. So, sorry, that's my phone going off in the background. In the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of land from where I'm calling in from, the Minawa people, and the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia. I'd like to thank them for their contributions and continuous love and care for these lands and their connection to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. So, welcome to class. Toolakea Community Classes are a space for anyone interested in business and creativity to be a part of an immersive space to network, educate, and be educated. These free masterclasses are our way of supporting the new age workspace and facilitating a sense of community and togetherness. So this is our third community class, and I hope to have many more in the future. So at the end of this class, there'll be an email sent with the recording and a link to nominate yourself or someone else who would like to be a guest speaker. So if that's something that you would like to do, we would love to hear from you. So just a couple of housekeeping bits and pieces. So keep your mics muted if you can. And then if you have any questions, just enter into the chat. Peter will answer them after each topic and at the end of the class. So the duration for the class is about an hour. And yeah, you're happy to come and go as you please. But yeah, firstly, I would just like to introduce the host today. So Peter's the founder of Professional Babe. So she's been working with 500 business owners over her sticky, scalable, and profitable methods, focusing on working with businesses to boost their profit and streamline their business through consulting and strategy. So as I said before, I've wanted to have Peter host for such a long time. I think like her branding, her tone of voice, and just her knowledge around email marketing is incredible. And yeah, I'm so happy that you can be here today. So thank you. But yeah, take it away, I guess.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for this. I was going to say, if I look at one point, like I'm just attempting to get you to lip read, my mic has broken. It's really temperamental. It kind of has cat energy where it's like, nah, not today. So I'm going to get my slides up. I will say, I have actually done this slide from assets provided. So this is not Toolakea branding. This is me basically just trying to be a designer. They obviously do a much better job than I ever could. So I'm really excited to present about like all things email marketing. I love email. It has changed my business. It's changed the efficiency of how everything runs, and the same with my clients as well. I think in the online space, it can kind of be at the moment, I don't know if other people feel it's like the wild, wild west. You like will stumble upon a profile and then all of a sudden you're like, is this person actually legit? Like who is this bitch? So just before we get into it, fun fact, I've actually never had like a proper job. I started my first business, was a Pilates studio. I had that for about 8 years. This was before Pilates was even a thing. People thought that it was like physical culture, which was so random. That was in the Hunter Valley, and the success of that saw me create a Pilates DVD. I was writing for basically almost every health mag in Australia up until a point. I sold my business in 2017. I was still writing. I was like creating content for a lot of like beauty-based brands. And from there, transformed my business into a consulting agency. So I rebranded Professional Babe. And yeah, I've been doing that. Not really the best time to start a business, like right at the start of the pandemic, but you know, it is what it is. And it's so funny, when I had my DVD and when I had my Pilates studio, I really never used email, which is so bizarre. And I think a lot of the advice that I give, like I can look back and be like, if only I would have known like all of my knowledge on this area now, my business just would have been so much easier to run. It would have been so much more profitable, because I can look back at my studio and how we had basically a full-time receptionist to handle like all my client questions and bookings, and how much easier my life could have been if I had just like known this at the start. So it's so funny when I tell people this, and how like I personally believe that email in your business should be your first hire. I think that we're kind of in this point, and not to like discredit like virtual assistants and help, like I have help in my business, but I think sometimes we think, oh, I'm really busy, I'm just going to hire someone. But we all have like limited funds that we can devote to that, and we all have like limited hours. So we could have an amazing assistant, but they might only have like a certain number of hours that they're working in our business. Okay, so I'm a huge advocate for email. And I think especially with like the changing nature of social media, and how it's like every single time we log on to Instagram, there's like some bloody change. So it's just a really wonderful way for us to safeguard our business. Anytime that we are building something on a platform that's not ours, we're basically at the mercy of that changing, whether that be an algorithm change or even what they're doing with like the meta verification at the moment. Another thing is as well, back to that like VA point, I hear a lot of the times when people want to scale, we think of scaling as like, let me bring more people in so we can do more work. This is just the most efficient way that we actually can get our business to run like a whole lot smoother. And for a lot of people, depending on the software you use, this is going to be for under $100 a month as well. And then the last thing is, I don't know about you, but it takes for me like a couple times when someone comes into my world before they end up becoming a customer. And there's only like so many times that I can show up and have a conversation, or, host an event like this, or post on Instagram. So it just acts as another touch point of getting that person from like a follower to then like your next best customer. So some fun facts, because you might still be like, yeah, email is still giving some boomer energy. Probably one of my favorite stats is when we actually look at automation. So a really simple example of this is, when we sign up to someone's newsletter and then we get like an email almost instantaneously, and then we could get one like a couple days later. If we actually set this up effectively, we're going to save about 6 hours a week, which is awesome. This means you could literally just decide that you're not going to work Friday, clock off an hour early. Like each day you could work more. You could just be like, fuck it, I'm doing a Don Draper and I'm going to go for like a midday movie. All right. So that's probably my second favorite stat I like. If you are someone as well that probably is like using email, but again, you're just like, I'm just kind of doing things sporadically. If we are like, again, not using automations, we're missing out on about 320% revenue that we could. Okay. So again, having them as that real central part of our business. So acting like our awesome team member that helps support us. And then another thing is, if we want to make more money from our email, there's something called segmentation. So depending on what software you use, and we have like a whole module on that we're going to be discovering today, the program might call it like segments. It could be under like lists, groups, or tags, but every single email marketing software will have some kind of way that we actually can group our subscribers. And when we do that and we add that into our marketing plan, which is another point that we're covering today, we can get 760% more revenue. I have a client at the moment, an advisory client that I work with. She's a social media and email strategist. And she has got like a new client recently. They're in the e-com space. And she has had, since the client has taken email more seriously, a 37% increase on their email revenue. Now 55% of their revenue comes from email. And this is like a 6-figure a month business. So automatically, like just that return has like, the money that has been made is probably like what maybe a lot of us are making or dream of making in a year, which is just wild. And it's not from doing anything different except just having this awesome strategy, an awesome email marketing plan. And of course, like using those like little segments or groups of subscribers, like in our plan as well. And my favorite thing, it's a way that we actually can map out that customer journey. So, if we think about like our business right now, think of like the last maybe 5 people that have become a customer, or maybe have fallen off becoming a customer. Maybe it was like back and forth and back and forth. And then we've seen them like purchase like something, like another course with someone else. And we're like, you bitch. But we can kind of think about like that journey that their subscriber takes. And this is just a way that we can like map this out so perfectly. So things where, if we are looking at this from like an onboarding perspective, maybe we have like lots of different questions. So Carly, this could be something where people are like, oh, if I've got this 3-5 hour a week design package, like how does that work? What if I have a question? What about this? And we might find ourselves answering the same like questions over and over. This is a way that we can basically just map that out and preempt problems. So you might find that you are getting similar questions as soon as someone purchases, about a week after, about a month after. We can jot all of that in. But then if we're actually looking at this from a sales perspective, this is where we can look at, okay, cool. If it takes like 90 days for someone to come into our world and then become a customer, how can we really be strategic with this flow and see if we can take that down to like 70 days or like less than 60 days, and just keep like looking at the data and testing, which again, I love. So we've covered some of these points already. I want you to really look past email as just like this, sporadic campaign that we send out in our business. I want you to see it as like an extra set of hands that is here to basically help you do everything. The awesome thing is, email doesn't need sleep. It's always there. There is no human error, unless of course you're me and you're notorious for putting a typo in like your flow. That's always going to be there. But especially for people that feel like that you are a perfectionist and you really struggle to kind of like, release your grip on your business because this is your baby, which, is so common. This is a way that you basically can clone yourself and have yourself be on all of the time. Because think about it. It's not just an email from some random, it's an email from you, and people love you. They love your business. They love your vibe. So why would this be anything different? And then as we've covered, it's a really powerful automation tool, which again can save us a lot of time. So about 6 hours a week, and make us money. So where do we start? Well, I've already got you excited. So we can just like tick off that first point. A question that comes up a lot is email software. We're going to cover that today. And then we're going to look at email marketing plans and the design and just a couple of things to look at. And then of course, some do's and don'ts. So if you are super keen and you're like, well, I've got my software, I just want to get started ASAP, that you kind of just have an idea of what to do. So when we ask someone what software we should use, I'm in like a lot of different Facebook groups and I probably see this like pop up so much. I always think that it's kind of like asking someone like what their favorite chocolate cake recipe is. What they tell you is going to be what they like. So you could be like, I want some fudgy boy with like all this frosting. And there's someone that doesn't even fucking like cake. And they're like, oh, I just want like this little chocolate angel food cake. You are speaking completely different languages. And this happens a lot with software, because if you think about it, you could have like a high volume e-commerce business where you're selling, say, like a product under $20. And if someone is giving you a recommendation where they may need like a CRM because they're doing a lot of follow-ups, they're selling things that are like over $10,000, you're going to need different requirements for that software. And they could be recommending something and all of these features that you necessarily don't need in your business as well. So your software is so personal for you and your business and where you're going. Okay. So you need the right software to scale and run your business. Take it from me. I feel like that I would have been a lot better to start with something a lot more robust, but the software I use now, although it's amazing, the reporting is a bit limited. So I use Flowdesk. We're just like in way too deep to migrate. It would probably take me for about 2 weeks. And then not to get like too into the deliverability side of things, but we have something called sender reputation. And that's basically like our reputation is tied to, say, if we're with MailChimp, inboxes come to learn that, like, let's just pretend that Carly is using MailChimp and she's been using them for 3 years. You know, inboxes like Gmail are like, oh, hey, Carly, like coming from her little MailChimp address. Anyway, let's pretend that Carly, like, you know, ups and leaves and she goes to ConvertKit and she's just like, I'm just going to email like normal. Gmail might be like, this is a bit sus. Who is this person? You know, we don't know her. It's like, it's coming from a new sender, even though it's us. It's like we're living in a different house, and it can take a while to warm those inboxes up, which is why this is just a really important decision, especially if we obviously have really big growth plans. We don't want to just like up and leave, especially when we're busy. So one of the things that I would love you to think about is, you know, in the next week, we're really just going to make like a solid plan to either, you know, be steady with the software we're using, or we're going to like break up and we're going to move somewhere else. So again, mistakes that I see people make, they ask their friends or in a Facebook group, oh my God, don't do that. Just don't do that. It's also wild the amount of times that, because I regularly run like email-based events. This is so funny for me. I've probably taught in my events like over 1,000 people. And I have seen people before when we talk about software. So we spend a whole day on this and they'll say, oh my God, I use MailChimp and it sucks. And then I'll see that same person when someone is like, what software is good? And the person will say MailChimp. And I'm like, what the fuck? So just don't listen to those people. All right. The next thing is going for the cheapest one. If we look at this as like a strategic hire in our business, we would never hire the cheap and nasty person. Like, yeah, you know, it could be hands on deck, but we want to make sure that we're getting like someone really good in our business. If we think about it, this is our reputation. It's the same with software as well. And I find with clients, when we actually start to use it a lot more, you know, you can really see the value. If you're paying $100 a month, that's a lot if you're just sending one email a month. But if you have all of these automations that are set up to make your life easier, so let's say, for example, you're selling like a coaching package, or you sell something online like manicure kits or something, and you want people to be able to effectively use the product. It could be like a sequence that teaches them how to use it, or gives them all the information that they need to know. And, you know, having that in your business is just amazing. It just saves you so much time and so much energy. And you'll see that then that $100 investment just becomes so reasonable, especially when it's freeing your time up as well. Another thing is looking at using software for where we are now and not where we're going. So we may decide, oh, I really want to do SMS marketing. This is going to be a big part of my business moving forward. And you could be using a software that doesn't have that capability. And in your mind, you're like, oh, I don't need that now. I'm probably going to do that in 12 months' time. So I'll look at migrating them. We always want to do things before we're ready. So I always get asked from people like, what are some good email service providers? You will probably see this online if you're reading reviews as like ESPs. The first, I know I was saying it's not that robust. Flowdesk is amazing. It's reasonably priced. You get unlimited subscribers and unlimited sends. It is not suitable for e-commerce. I hear this a lot because people think that it's beautiful, and we're going to get to that. I think it's in the next slide. It is not suitable for e-commerce. It is really good if you are like, I think with my community, I've been doing this for a while. I've always been someone that has like these like small, intimate relationships. I probably have like, 1,000 people on my Instagram. I've been doing this for a while, and I'm not the kind of person that's going to rely on like a lot of high volume So this is absolutely perfect. MailerLite is another good one as well. That's super reasonably priced. ConvertKit. What else have I got on here? Klaviyo and ActiveCampaign are all incredible. Some considerations. We want to make sure that the software that we're using integrates with any other software that we're using. So for example, if you were using, say, maybe it was Typeform, and you want to have some kind of automation set up, we want to make sure, if we can, that there's a direct integration. Otherwise, we might need a third-party software called Zapier to come in and kind of like connect them so they can speak to each other. So always just look and be like, where am I going? If I were to assign like a job description to my software and I'd want them to do a lot, is this going to suit where I'm going? Another thing as well is we want to make sure that we have, if you can, unlimited sends per month. So this mightn't feel like it's such a big deal. You might like say, look at MailChimp and it could say, oh, you've got 10,000 sends per month. But if we have 5,000 subscribers, that's 2 emails. And you might be like, oh, I'm not really emailing a lot. In a typical launch, over like a 2-month period, and again, these are segmented campaigns, everyone's not getting everything, I'll usually send about 40 emails. So across my list, that's a lot of campaigns. And if you think about it, imagine if you send that second campaign and then there's a mistake, you're like, shit, we're going to have to upgrade or I'm going to have to buy credits. And that's where stuff can become a little bit dicey as well. Your website mightn't have like commerce capabilities. So you might want to sell from your email marketing software. Flowdesk has just bought in checkouts, and ConvertKit has one as well. These are all PETA approved. If you use Kajabi Mail, that's also okay as well. I do hear that come up a lot. It's an amazing all-in-one software. And I don't know if anyone follows Denise Duffield-Thomas. She's got like a multi-million-dollar business, and they use Kajabi for all of their emails as well. What I would recommend, and this is probably one of the most important things, is you need to feel really comfortable with the back end. So when you log in, you go to send emails, MailerLite is amazing software, but I've had clients that are like, oh, it's so ugly and I hate going in there. And if you don't like doing something, you are just not going to do it. So remember, with like all tech, there is like usually a free trial of like a week to a month. Think about it as that is your time to go in, have like a little bit of a scope in the back end and be like, no, or fuck yes. Okay. So just give yourself time. I tell my clients, allow yourself to be overwhelmed and confused. I think sometimes if we like log in and we're like, this is confusing, and then we just want to tap out, like just set a timer on your phone and be like, I'm allowed to be confused for 10 minutes. No one comes out of the womb knowing how to use software. It's all going to be okay. So that would be something that I would say. Okay, I've got the chat open. I just want to, what do we have? Okay, I use Kajabi, but it's a bit of a basic bitch. Kajabi is absolutely fine. It has one of my favorite features, which is brand new, which is link tagging. So this is really handy if you're, say, like in a launch, or you're doing something that's like upcoming where you want to start to create like this little tiny wait list. So Carly, this could be something like you might be doing, I don't know, a logo design course, right? And you in your campaigns can be sending stuff out. Maybe it's like a podcast or something that you were on where you're talking about this. Maybe it's an article you contributed to. Maybe it's something that you've seen online. And that is, anytime someone clicks that link, they just get this tag added. And it's almost like a little post-it note that you're whacking on the subscriber. So just pretend that like 3 months down the track, you're like, okay, cool, I'm ready to start talking about this logo course that's coming out in like 3 months or whatever. You can then start to email those people and be like, oh my God, you're hearing it first. I'm doing a course on this. If you want to like buy on pre-sale, you'll save $300. And these people are like, oh my God, how did Carly know that I want this? So it's a little bit sneaky, but it's good business, and your subscribers will absolutely love you. Any other Rex for service-based business? Okay, so basically all of these: Flowdesk, MailerLite, ConvertKit, and ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign is a like really robust boy. A lot of people think I want to use ActiveCampaign because there's like all of these things that I can do. I'm going to say for 95% of people, you don't need like all the bells and whistles. I think a lot of the time we think, oh, for us to give good email, we need to have these like super complex sequences and automations. You don't. If you were to look at how like my backend in Flowdesk is set up, it's really simple. But, I've just obviously mapped the customer journey out, and they're getting like campaigns that are pretty good, that I don't need to do all of these rules. Like, if subscriber clicks this, then do this, and then do this. You don't need that. So I would recommend, Flowdesk, MailerLite, ConvertKit, or ActiveCampaign. MailerLite layout makes my brain melt. Oh wait, MailChimp. It does a bit. It's changed a lot over the years. I was an OG MailChimp person, and I actually still have my account. And every time I've logged in, I'm like, there's more shit in here. How have they crammed more in? When you look at those houses on TikTok and there's like the walls and they've decorated it, and you're like, how have you fit so many paintings on a wall? Like, that's kind of the vibe that I get from MailChimp. This is super important. I looked at Klaviyo or ActiveCampaign, but it seemed ugly or overwhelming. Yeah. So just go with one that you're like, look, like, again, set that timer, 5-10 minutes, and then just be like, I think I could get the hang of this? Another thing I'll say as well is, I think I've seen people who want to go for some like niche little software. The more popular it is, the more help that's going to be online. Like, if you have a problem, you want to be able to go to Google and be like, what the fuck is happening? And, have someone that's been there and that's basically stepped a solution out as well. The new MailerLite backend is real cute for something that is free. Yeah. And it's honestly amazing software. So, we are just about to go to the next section, but one thing that I want to say, I hear this all the time with clients that don't want to use a software. And this is usually my ecom clients. They don't want to use Klaviyo because they're like, it's ugly and I want to use Flowdesk. And I'm like, but Flowdesk is not for ecom. And I know you want beautiful campaigns. We all do. But this is where I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we should know how to do all of the things. Like, this is where you can work with someone like Carly to come in and design these beautiful templates. So then, you don't have to worry about doing all of that stuff. And of course, there's going to be a cost outlaid with that. But I have clients that will tell me that they're spending 3 hours on an email, and we don't want to spend like that much time on sending something if we're tinkering with the layout. So this is where, we can get someone to come in and design something that's really beautiful and custom for us. So it suits, all of our aesthetic, like across our brand and our social media and our website as well. So don't feel like that you want to pick software based on how pretty it is, because we can come in and make those templates super pretty.
And I
All right, before
jump in on that one really quick. But yeah, so if you don't know what we do, we're a creative outsourcing agency. So a lot of our business is run on the belief that you should just kind of stick in your own lane and get someone who knows what they're doing to do the tasks that you can't do, you don't want to do, or you're just not that into it. So yeah, email marketing and email templates save like hours each week. So we work with a lot of our clients on building their email template base that's eye-catching and on brand. And it just kind of like having that branded email template, like they can just kind of go in and just throw their copy in and any kind of like relevant images for that campaign. And just having that strong branding, it just really like solidifies their authority as a brand, and having a strong and cohesive brand presence, not just on their socials and their website, but yeah, super important to have that within your emails.
I love that. And I think too, Instagram is such a competitive landscape. Like, everyone's on there. It's any platform where you don't have to pay to play, there's going to be a lot of people. But because like the barrier to entry with email, quite often there will be some fee, or there is a lot of setup that is involved. And with that, like the bar is so low. So, you know, like if you just have these beautiful, consistent campaigns, like this is where you'll just find that your business might be here and then all of a sudden everything just goes up. And that initial time investment, the initial investment of, say, you're working with a designer, like the ROI is absolutely there. And email is like quite well documented that it's like the highest returning marketing activity. So just see this as like, it's an investment in you. And as Carly said, it's a really wonderful investment in your brand as well. I was going to say, we're going to move on to the next section, but I've got the chat open. If something comes up about software, I'm more than happy to like answer that at the end, just so that you feel like you leave here and all of your questions are answered. All right. One of my favorites, email marketing plans and design. Okay. So if you want to have success with anything that you're doing, we need a plan. We can't just go in and like raw dog it and then expect a result. Okay. This used to be me. I was like, I'm doing all the things. And it was kind of like, it was like I just had like a whole bunch of sugar and it was really busy. And I was like, why aren't I getting a result? And it's because I was just like so focused on, I'm going to send an email. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I was kind of busy and moving, but I wasn't actually moving in the direction that I wanted to end up in. It was really hard for me because I think I convinced myself that I was not someone that could make a plan. I was like someone who had to work in flow because, you know, creative types don't have a plan. The thing is, a plan is like this beautiful structure that allows us to work around. It supports our creativity or however we basically want to show up. So for example, in my business, at a minimum, we have a weekly newsletter. It usually goes out from like Tuesday to Thursday. Tuesday is the ideal day. Sometimes I'm very busy with clients and it could be Wednesday or Thursday. But knowing that, I now can like go in my week and be like, what do I want to talk about? And I just get really curious. You know, the how is taken care of. And what a lot of you will find is that when we actually know what the how is, so how is this going to look? What is the result that we want? You'll find that you'll actually be a lot more creative and all of your wonderful ideas will drop in. I always think of this like, I went in this like talent show in year 4. Do you remember that band Steps? And they had that song, it was like 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not going to sing it because I have a terrible voice. Anyway, my friends and I went in the talent show, and in recess, we basically had like thought of the dance before. So like an hour before, and it was a mess. And like my mom was there and she was like clapping and she was super excited. She was like the only person. Like we don't want that to happen with our business, especially when this is our reputation. We just want to add like a little bit more thought into what we're doing, which obviously makes it really easy for us to get the desired result that we want. So we really need to have, again, that loose plan of like, where are we going? What are we doing? You know, how does this look like? I still proudly know the dance. I love this. I don't know if I do, but maybe I will report back after this. You might see me pop up doing it on Instagram later. So we just want to have, again, some plan, and it doesn't need to be something really complex. Okay. We don't need to spend hours and hours on this. In my business, I like to plan. I'm a bit anal with this, but I like to just be like, okay, where am I going this year? What does that look like? And then from there, I'll break that down into like monthly focuses. So I can just be like, okay, cool. We're going into April. What is the outcome that I want in April and in May? And then in knowing that, it's just going to be like, okay, cool. Well, now I need to do this, this, and this. And then if I've got segments set up in my email software, which I do, I need to talk to these groups of people a little bit more to get this result as well. So again, if you are someone that identifies as being super creative, having a plan will actually help you be so much more creative, because you mightn't realize how much time is actually going for you to figure out the how. Oh, how is this going to look? What am I going to email? When am I going to email? Am I emailing too much? Am I emailing too little? You know, we can't do everything at once, and we don't want like all of our creative energy just going into this thought where we can just like basically make a decision. Like if you don't like it next month, you can just change. Like that's the awesome thing. All right. Again, when we have a plan, it really forces you to think about things. So this could look something like, let's pretend that I want to launch a course in June. And I've got this in my mind now. And I'm like, okay, I want to launch a course in June on this. In knowing that and knowing my plan, it's really forcing me to think about, my customer, the people that are in my business, my sales process, how I want to sell. And then remember, we have email as that team member that comes in and we can then like task it with stuff to do. All right. So it's just sitting there and it's almost like waiting for us to be like, okay, here, go and do this. And then email comes in and it does that. And also when we have a plan, it super helps us to organize our priorities and time. I have some clients that at the start of the month, they just love to sit down and batch everything. I really don't like to batch. Some things I do. I will prefer to have like a priority system where I've got like my top 3 priorities every single day. And I know that like on Tuesday, my priority is we have to get the email out. That's like the number 1. So when I have this plan, I can just be really discerning with where does my time and energy have to go to get the result that I want. Carly, I don't know if you want to step in here, but this is where, when we have a plan, loop your creative team in. Like if you're working with someone like Carly, like let them know what's happening, because again, it's really hard when like we're carrying the load and we're like, shit, I've got to do all of these things. Like this is where you can come and have people help you. If you're like, I want to have this course come out, or here's where my business is going.
Well, yes, totally agree with everything that you're saying. And like, I was actually just, I can't wait to like learn a little bit more, because I'm like, I have the team behind me and I have all these ideas for email and even just like in general, like creative tasks. So, having the plan and looping in your team, number 1 key thing. And Mickey is here watching, who's a part of my team, so this is me looping her in. But love all these tips.
Awesome Okay, so we might be like, okay, what is a good marketing plan? Like what does this look like? Again, I'm really conscious of time. I literally could be here all day. I probably could be here all week, but I just want to get you into action. I think sometimes if I give you too much information, you can feel like, shit, I need to do all these things. The most important thing, like post this call, is that you're just moving forward with action. Don't worry about it being perfect. I call this like baby giraffing. Like, when you see a baby giraffe trying to walk and it's a little bit all over the place, just give yourself permission to be a little bit baby giraffe-like. So when we're looking at our marketing plan, we always want to think about like this A point where we're starting and then the B point, ideally where we want to end up. So this could look something like, Carly, you've got an email list. It could be you being like, I want to be full for Q2. Like I want to be booked and busy and I want a wait list. Okay. It could be something like that. Elise, I know you're on this call, you could have, Bossy Copy College coming up, and you could be like, we are going to do an end of financial year sale. And as soon as our cart opens, I basically want to have 30 people who have purchased. All right. So we want to think about, again, where we are and where we want to be. And then our wonderful marketing plan will basically bridge that gap and get us from A to B. So people will usually say, shit, I don't know what to send. I have a fun little acronym, TAVO, which when we're looking at what our campaigns need to be stuffed with, they should ideally build trust, show authority, give value, and explain our offers. I find that this is kind of like, the 5 love languages. Love Gary Chapman. I am a gift girl, just FYI, but I do love absolute adoration. This guy once got his first tattoo and it's like me on his stomach. That's a bit weird. He got drunk and told me, but I'm not going to lie, I fucking loved it. So we might find with this that we're doing like more than like one more than the others. So this could look like I'll have a client and they're constantly doing these beautiful trust building emails and these vulnerable shares. And then they'll be like, I'm not selling anything. And we'll actually look at all of the emails that they're sending. And they're sending these beautiful, almost like letter from the editor style emails. but they're not actually telling people how to work with them. We all know the ones for the offers. We have all been on someone's list, and it's like we've just been turkey slapped from the moment that we've got there, where they're just like, buy our shit, buy our shit, buy our shit, buy our shit, and that's it. We want to have this really awesome mix. And what I would encourage you to do, if you have been emailing regularly, I would probably go back through your last probably 8 to 20 campaigns. I say 20 if you are someone that sends to segments. So maybe you've got like a wait list for this program, and you've got a wait list for this, and you've got these group of clients. So if we take those 8, you might be like, well, I've only emailed this group of people once in that time. And we want to just be like, you know, with this email that's in front of me, have I been trust building? Have I been showing my authority that I know what I'm talking about? Have I given value? And have I explained how people can work with me, or what that looks like? Some emails will be a mix. You'll find a lot will be a mix. And of course, we want that across our marketing plan. This also goes for when we're crafting an automation in our business. We want to have this acronym, like a mix of that as well. We also need to remember in our marketing plan of something called the metrics. So this is like our email open rate, our click-through rate, deliverability rate, all of those fun things. And average email open rate, depending on industry, we'll just say it's around 20%. So if we know that, that means that 1 in 5 people will see an email that we send. So just knowing that, you might be like, oh, I'm not really getting a result. Your marketing plan should just take that all into account, especially if you're leading up to a launch. You know, you might be like, okay, cool. We want to sell this many. I'm probably going to need to sell 8 campaigns. If send 8 campaigns, if like 1 in 5 people are seeing it, you'll all convert higher than that. But we can just kind of look and be like, okay, cool. I've sent enough to, again, get that result. With your marketing plan, you know, nothing works in silos. Your Instagram doesn't work independently from what's happening in your website, from your paid ads if you're running them. But what it does so beautifully is it brings everything together. So I find a lot of the time clients might be like, yeah, I've kind of got a loose plan for Instagram. But when we actually look, again, email is that team member that comes in and it's like, okay, what's happening? Like, think of them as like a super type A Virgo. Like this is like your Virgo team member that's coming in and it's like, okay, efficiency, babe, what's happening? Where are we going? I am going to make that happen. Another thing to think about with your marketing plan is if we want this to be like a driver of sales, what are we selling and how can this be a powerful touch point? So we can look at, you know, sales that we've had in the past and ask ourselves, what have people needed to become a customer? Have they needed information? Have they needed testimonials? Have they needed to know my story and that I'm not some like online charlatan that's just here to sell them some shit? Like, what do they need? And again, how can we then, knowing that, add that into our marketing plan in emails that are going to appear in there? And one last thing, you know, we want consistency. So don't feel that you're going to do this and that you're going to have this dramatic change overnight. Like, it's just it's long-term, long game. I have just gone back to Pilates after like the whole of last year off basically from injuries. And it's so funny. My background, obviously I had a studio, and it's so funny. I went back and like a week in, I was like, why aren't I fit again? Where are my abs? Kept like pulling my shirt up in the mirror, being like, where are they? And it's like, I don't want to throw the towel in after a week, because that's definitely not going to mean my goal is going to be met. I need to just show up and do this consistently. And sometimes it's going to feel like that it's not working, but we need to remember all of the people. Like, we can probably think now the people that we follow and we love, whether that's their emails, their website, their Instagram, their TikTok, whatever. And we might just be like, I love everything they do. And we just never tell them. Or we are like a ball hair away from becoming a paid customer. And the person who is sending these campaigns, they don't know that. All right. So we need to just remember that, like, we could just be one email away from a client being like, yeah, I'm so ready. All right. So just always remember that when we're feeling a little bit disheartened, that we just never know when that next success point is going to come. And we just have to be really consistent. So here is an example. I love Violet FR on the right. Their campaigns are beautiful. It's really consistent with their website. It's just stunning. They're super easy to navigate. If they were one of my clients, I would probably say to make the shop now button in that beautiful red, just so it stands out and you can see like that beautiful journey. Again, I'm not a designer, and this is why you would work with someone like Carly, because she's going to consider all of this. Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely the red, but yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, they're just like beautiful campaigns. And it's so funny, like if for all my service-based people on here, I tend to have like a lot of I'm not going to call them arguments, but heated conversations with clients. They're like, I can't keep selling. And I'm like, e-commerce sells in every fucking email. Like they sell in every single email, or they talk about a product or how to use it. So if you are like a service-based baddie, don't be afraid to just posture the sale. It just needs to obviously give value. I love their campaigns. I think they're really beautiful. They only do one thing at the bottom. Again, we could be here all week. Ideally at the bottom in a footer, to be GDPR and CAN spam compliant, we actually need to have an address. So even the one on the left with I quit sugar, ideally we should be having a full address to be completely legally compliant. Now on the left, it's so funny. I could cover up like the Violet FR at the top and even her face, and I'm just going to tell that that is her campaign. The colors, everything is just super consistent. If I cover I quit sugar and someone showed me that, I wouldn't know what the fuck it is. How many different fonts are on there? The layout, it's just really a little bit all over the place. And again, I don't want to call out like too many businesses, but I just noticed with this, like I'm on their list and they're kind of sometimes over here and then they're here and then they're selling this and then they're selling this, where Violet is just a beautiful example where they'll have a new product launch and they'll kind of be in that energy of that new product and what it's about and how to use it as well. Another thing here, this is just an example of, on the left, there's a company, I Love Creatives. And I think sometimes we assume that emails have to be super, super, super long. Like this is so perfect. It gets the point across. I was going to say I should have included the email that I sent out yesterday about this masterclass, which was just a tiny little header and probably 4 sentences with just a call to action button. So don't feel that this needs to be like a magazine layout where people are just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's not designed to be a sales page. It's designed to be a touch point, and ideally, you know, taking that person to the next step. We always just want to be like, what do we want the subscriber to do? And then get them to that point quickly. Mind is an amazing app. I love Mark Groves. I just don't like the emails. Look at all the things on there. Watch the full video. Then there's a button to watch it. Then there's where to watch. Then down the bottom, there's more buttons. If you have I'm so anxious. I'm such an anxious person. I would literally look at that and be like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then a notification would probably like pop up on my phone and I would just naturally click out. Where if there's like one main call to action, even if I like close this, the path is just super direct. So this is where, again, working with someone like Carly that's going to consider this is amazing, because I think sometimes we want to try to jam a lot in emails. And this is back to what I was saying earlier. If we know this and we know that we should email less and just have these very targeted campaigns, this is why you need to send more emails than you think. And when we send super targeted campaigns, so the email that I sent yesterday about this masterclass, I didn't send that to my whole list. I sent that to people who had opted in to hear about email in the past. Maybe they registered for an event, maybe they were on Give Good Email waitlist, and it was super targeted. It was like, here is this point. And you'll find that when we do stuff like that, we actually will have less unsubscribes and you'll have higher open rates and you'll have higher click-through rates, because people will be like, oh, every time Peter emails me, it's always something about email. And I love email. Of course, I want to hear about this. So Carly, I don't know if you have something to comment on like the design and the layout and why this is so important.
I love creatives emails. Like every week they send it, I think like every Wednesday, and I'll always read because it's just like so full of info. Yeah, the one on the right is like just aesthetically hideous. So much color going on, all the duotones on top of the imagery. It's just a lot. And I would like to me, I'm like, do you have a team behind you? Like, do you kind of really know what you're saying? Are you putting that time? Like, it just seems really rushed. I love creatives. It's so simple and just like so informative. Side note, I love creatives. I was listening to a podcast today with Puno, who is the founder of I Love Creatives. And she actually started I Love Creatives off the newsletter. So it was like 2014, I think. And she just created a newsletter for advertising all like what's kind of happening in the creative world in downtown LA. And people would kind of come to her a lot. Like asking her if there's anything she knows, like, hey, do you know of any jobs in like UX design or graphic design? And she was like, just send it to this email and we'll pop it in our newsletter. And they built a massive audience. And then that's how they like had such a big audience behind all their launches for their courses and stuff. So I Love Creatives. It's such a powerful platform and brand. And yeah, they started from email marketing. So there you go.
I love that. Yeah, it's just so it's email. It's changing the world.
Yeah,
and I think as well. Pardon?
I have a massive girl crush on her. She's like literally like my like CEO inspiration. She's incredible.
I didn't even know that. So I loved that I've used her as an example in here, because she just gets the point across and it's easy to understand. And it's super like, again, I can cover up her logo and I know that it's her. Like I can just tell straight away with the branding and the layout and the colors and everything down the bottom. It does have that. See the footer? I've cropped it off a bit so we can't see a lot of it, but see how there is the address? Legally, we want to have our address in a footer. This is where I've got a physical like workplace. It could be something like you can have like a PO box or something like that. Okay. Again, any questions on that? Pop it in the chat, or we've got some time for Q&A at the end. We may go over a little bit. I'm so sorry. I just can't help myself when it comes to email. But I want to just talk about some do's and don'ts. So we want to email our list at least every 1 to 2 weeks. What I find is clients will get over themselves and their fear of email really quickly, that they'll just find that they start to really go ham with this, especially when they have like their little segments. And I know that we haven't covered that today, but think of this as like your little groups of subscribers. Like if we were telling a story of what happens on the weekend, especially if we've had a really loose weekend, I know that I'm going to tell my mother a different story compared to the people at work, compared to like my barista that just has all the tea on all the things. All right. So we want to obviously email regularly. We don't want people to forget about us. How many times have we opted into someone's list and then they don't email, and then we get an email like a month later and we're like sitting there being like, did I opt in or am I being like spammed? And we just don't know. Like we don't want that to happen. We want to be super consistent straight away. I forgot to put this in my intro. I actually used to be a sex and dating writer. So I think a lot of my examples I'll draw on with that, but it's like with this, if we match with someone on Tinder and they don't speak to us for a month and then they go to slide in, we're like, oh, fuck off. I'm like, I don't want to hear from you. Too late. You've lost your chance. And you can just sit there and look at my pretty pictures and feel bad for yourself. We want to just make sure that we are getting on the right foot with our subscribers. So just think of it like you're dating them. And we want to like show what it is like to go like steady with us. And that is working with us. Like this is where it starts. So if you are someone and you feel like that you're not converting as much as you'd like, and you're not selling as much as you'd like, this is where email is incredible at just setting the tone of the relationships and showing people what it would be like to actually properly date you. Okay. There is no such thing as sending too many emails if you do a good job and if they're segmented. When we had my last launch for Give Good Email, I think it was 40 campaigns. It was like 39, 40 campaigns sent to different segments. I think I have 800 people on my list. We had 10 unsubscribe over 40 emails, which is nothing. Like that could probably happen with a colder list, with just a really value-packed email from someone that hasn't sent an email in a while, and their subscribers being like, who is this person? And then unsubscribing. So what I would recommend is, if you know that you want to email regularly, or if you've got a launch coming up, start to just kind of like pick up how many emails you would normally send. Again, we want to create segments, those groups of subscribers, and create segmented campaigns. So this is just sending relevant campaigns and speaking to them in like that particular language. So this could look like, if I have my email segments, I could send a super simple, like I did with the email about this, being like, hey, I'm hosting a masterclass with Toolakea. It's going to be incredible. I'm going to be talking about stuff that I probably haven't spoken about before from a design perspective. Register below. If I was sending that out to my whole list, I probably would need to maybe give a bit more background, like, hey, we all know social media is changing, blah, 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 and then go into it. Okay. I couldn't just go straight into it because they don't really have that context. Another thing is we need to look at our data. So look at your open rates, look at your click rates, get really curious as to like what your subscribers love, what does well. And remember that no one converts at 100%. Create your own benchmarks. So I would again look at like 8 to 20 campaigns, just depending, and you can just divide up the click-through rate, the open rate, and your deliverability, and then just be like, cool, here's our benchmark. In our next email marketing plan, my goal is that I want to have more engagement with my subscribers and get my click-through rate from 1.5% to 2.5%. That is a perfect goal for your marketing plan. We want to make sure that we have a welcome sequence. So when someone joins our list for the first time, this could be like when they join our like opt-in for a newsletter. It could even be like our welcome sequence is something to do with a course for us for now, if we're just yet to start releasing our first product. And again, we want to have automations because they are going to save us a lot of time and make us money. We want to send on-brand campaigns that match our business's aesthetics. This is so important. How many times have we been on someone's website and then we get this like really fugly email? And we're like, oh, because remember that it's giving a preview of what it's like to work with us. And we want that consistency. So subscribers just feel like, yes, I absolutely can, trust you with this. Okay. Another thing with this, we want to make sure that we're not jam-packing too many images in an email. The ideal ratio is 80 to 20 text to image. Okay. So we don't want to have too many images in there. And we also want to make sure that we're not sending super big images in an email. I have had this with a lot of e-com clients and some food blogger clients where the emails were only sitting at like a 60% deliverability or something. And like, this is not a P's get degrees kind of scenario. We want to be aiming for 100%. And they were freaking out, thinking that they'd been blacklisted. And I was like, why don't we take a couple images out, and the ones that are in, we won't have them to be like 2 megabytes. We'll just make the files smaller. And their deliverability went from 60% all the way up to 98%, just with that like little change. Okay. We want to invest in our business staples. So again, if you're working with a professional, you're like, we've got an e-commerce business, and we want to make sure that, we're sending birthday campaigns is a big thing, or we've got this. This is where you can work for someone and have these beautiful campaigns, invest in stuff in your business that you are going to be using regularly. Again, Carly, I don't know if you have anything to comment on with stuff like that is a really good like to do with email.
In what way?
Oh, just from a design perspective, like stuff that you think that works really well.
Okay, so I think like yeah, obviously like keeping it at a low with images, but one thing that I think just like adds a pop to your emails is instead of having like a solid image, okay, for example, um those like really cool cutouts that we've done of Peter for this launch, like having an asset with a transparent background that you can upload. So it kind of looks like it's a little bit of a collage that's just been like slapped on the email. And it's like, it's not really chunky and big and it's not taking up a full like rectangle in the email. And it's just kind of like this floating asset. So I think that really gives a lot of like dimension to the emails. So that's something that I like am really loving at the moment that we've been doing with some of our clients. But yeah, like definitely keeping it nice and easy. And like, for example, that the like, what was the email next to the I Love Creatives one that you just had up before, how it was like super messy?
Oh, the mind one.
Yeah. So that is just like, just try and keep your colors to like 3, if that 2. Like, and your font selection, one heading, maybe a subheading if needed, and body copy, keeping the body copy on a sans serif. So if you know what serif and sans serif is, serif font is the ones with the like little like kick on the end of each letter, and sans serif is kind of like what you can see in the chat, just like really like stocky font. So yeah, just keeping it nice and simple, because that like, yeah, I mean, that like being on screen all the time, we're just getting so much info, and to see something like that, I would just be like, it looks cheap, it's too much for me, I'm not gonna even delve into that. So just keep the less the better, I guess. And yeah, playing with those fun transparent backgrounds for your assets and stuff, I think is a really cool and something a little different than just regular imagery.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely love that. Okay, so now with that, what don't we want to do? Okay, the first thing is email people without their consent. Oh my God, you can get in so much trouble for this. But it's also a way that we actually can fuck up the delivery of emails to people that actually want to hear from us. So this was something even that I know was happening with businesses from COVID, where, you know, when you would have to like sign in for like a whatever it was, like I've been in this venue, and there were heaps of businesses that were then uploading that to their marketing and then sending people campaigns. One, that's so illegal, but 2, imagine then these people that don't even want to hear from them and they're super disengaged, or they're reporting them to spam. If inboxes learn behavior based on what's happened in the past and they use that moving forward, what then happens, and we may have witnessed this, where we've gone on someone's list and their emails just straight away go to spam. It's normal if we're selling something that they could go to promotions and socials, but we don't want our emails going to any place other than primary inbox. Okay. We don't want to ghost our list. Do not ghost your list. This is where having an email marketing plan is so important. It just keeps you honest. I know, again, I have my weekly email at a bare minimum, and sometimes I feel I could do a better job, but the most important thing is that I'm just super consistent, and that people on my list know I'm consistent. It just shows them what I'm like when they get to work with me. We don't want to copy and paste our Instagram post across. Oh my God, this is probably my personal pet hate. I literally like, it just gives me the ick. I don't like it. And the reason I say that is we want to give people incentive for being on your list. And again, a lot of people think, well, I'm using email marketing, but I'm like, but you're not really. You're kind of just using it as like this backup. And the worst is when they email something that was on their Instagram and they email it after the people were on their Instagram. Like, if we think about like our sales funnel of where these people have come from, if a lot of our business happens on Instagram, then those people, we're going to have this crossover. So you can talk about something that you've put on Instagram. You can give a different perspective. You can expand on it. You can share an Instagram post, but what I would recommend, try not to do it too often and send it to your email first. Have a good amount of time pass So it could even be like a day, because we're usually always on our phones, and then you can pop it on Instagram. And you can even add the call to action of, this was so spicy and it got so much response on email. I'm actually going to pop it here. Make sure you join my list. Okay. We don't want to forget about our strategy, because this is where, again, we're just kind of doing all of the things and we feel like that we're not really moving anywhere. We don't want to forget about our branding and brand consistency. So this is, I'm on some people's lists and I feel like that they're just cycling through every template that the software has and every font, and that they're like, I'm really feeling like I'm going to go red this season. And we want people, as soon as they open the campaign, before they even read, they just know that it's you. Okay. We want that level of consistency. Do not use Canva for email templates. No. A big reason for this is, that is going to be one big image. And if we also want to be accessible, so if you have a business that prides itself on being accessible, people who have a screen reader, they cannot read an image. If that is, it's going to render differently. So that just means it appears differently depending on where you open it. You may have this so it looks beautiful on desktop, but if someone has a phone and they don't have the best vision, they're not going to be able to read that properly. Okay. Where if we're sending out text, that is going to auto adjust depending on where we're sending it as well. Again, do not stuff your emails with images. And then the last thing, and I see this a lot with clients, I think that there is so much pressure on having a business these days. And there's a lot of pressure on feeling like that you need to be able to do everything yourself and that you have to be an expert at everything. I've had a couple conversations in the DMs about this in the last week of people feeling like they have to do all of the things. You don't have to, okay? Obviously, we need the money to invest. Like, that's a huge thing. But this can be something where when okay, cool, this is not my strength in business, I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to outsource this or pay someone for a solution. So for example, this could be like coming to me and saying, I really need help with my strategy and I have all of these questions. And rather than you then second guessing yourself, I can come in and help. It would be like going to Carly and being like, I'm really struggling and agonizing over my templates and it's just sucking up so much time. I want to do email, but I'm spending 5 hours a week on it. Can you help? Okay. So don't feel like that you have to do everything. And always just remember that you have so many skilled people around you that can come in and help you. And like, it's their job, it's our job to come in and help you have an amazing result, like in your business. Do you have anything to add to that? No. Okay. All right. So I love Alexis Rose. I'm obsessed with her. So much so, I actually do these like little hand gestures normally. And someone was said to me once, they're like, have you copied your personality off her? And I'm like, no, she copied it off me. But this is going to be you when your life gets so much easier, when you have email marketing in your business. You've got a strategy, you've got your automations, like you are just going to love yourself absolutely sick. So if you don't have this already, I have an awesome email content brainstorm planner. There is a video to watch as well. And it gets you to brainstorm a whole year's worth of email content ideas, and then you get to schedule them in. So if you're like, oh, how do I do this email marketing plan? Guess what? You can do it for free, basically. And in there as well, you'll also hear me talk about like how we can tie a success metric and just a couple of other little tips as well. So if you just scan this with your phone, it will pull up and everything is in Notion ready for you to duplicate. I do have an incredible course called Give Good Email. You get lifetime access to this. We have a monthly office hours call. Twice a year, we'll kind of have some boot camp style of training. So coming up before end of financial year, we're going to have a challenge helping you make $200, $2,000, $20,000. I'm trying to push one of my clients to do $200K for the month with email revenue, and it covers everything in depth. It is a big boy of a program. And of course, I'd love to have you. DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to give you a special little code. And then this is where Carly gets to come in.
So obviously, I am very passionate on the fact that, yeah, your emails need to be looking gorgeous, just like your branding. And so, yeah, we've got this over here and it's 3 email templates for $400. So essentially that could be your welcome email, your newsletter, and like an offering one, or it could be an onboarding one, or whatever you want it to be. So essentially we'll design those for you, and yeah, you can just drop your copy in and chop and change as needed. So you don't have to spend that time like creating those email templates. So yeah, you'll get an email after this with the links to Peter's website and also to our site where you can make the inquiry. If you're thinking like, actually, yeah, like I actually want to kind of delve more into that onboarding, outsourcing journey, then you can also look at our weekly creative retainers on our site there too, because a lot of our clients, like, Mickey has worked with one of our clients on a program through email marketing, and it's just been so fun. And yeah, you're surprised by how much you can really get done within like a 3-hour kind of block. So yeah, like what Peter said, you don't have to do it all. There's people there to help. It is an investment, but really it's definitely worth it. You know, both of Peter and I outsource also as business owners, and like it's just a cost that for me, like I wouldn't even question it. It's just something that I say to people, if you're going to do a business plan or any type of plan, putting those outsourcing costs in there are just like so important from the start if you can do it. But yeah, 3 email templates, $400 is our hot deal for the day.
I love it. I love a hot deal. I reckon that's everything. So does anyone have any other questions for either of us to answer? Of course, we are more than happy to. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, that was that image that you just had up. That was what I was talking about, like a floating asset. It's just like fun and something so simple. So yeah, I mean, and it just gives something a little, it just makes things a little bit more playful and fun. Question. Oh, I have a question. I don't know if you have time for this, but any hot tips? Like the one thing that I struggle the most is with the email subject and that little section that you also put underneath the email subject. It's like, what do I like? I love yours because every time I click on them, I'm like, okay, this is amazing. Like I'm actually so interested in this because it's like something fun and playful, and I'm just always stuck. So any hot tips on finding a really good email, like how to make a good email subject?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have, here we go. We have something in Give Good Email, and I put this on my Instagram, so I'm going to get it up.
Okay, cool.
What I'll say, we actually also have a legal requirement here. So if we're emailing people in the US, we have something called CAN spam. Can't remember what it stands for. All I know is there's the word pornography in it. Don't you love out of everything? That's my take on it. That's what I remember. And we need to send stuff that represents the body of the email. For example, we could be talking about a yoga retreat, and then the subject could be free MacBook Pro. Illegal. We're not allowed to do that. So, couple fun facts: 69% of people will report an email as spam just based on the subject. How wild is that?
Yeah.
And 47% of people will determine if an email subject is an email is worth opening just purely on the subject. So you can mix and match these. There's 6 things. So what I mean by that is you can use one of the points for the subject and one of the points as a preview. I've got some examples. So the first, you can ask a question. The second, you can personalize it. So personalization, we can use with like the first name. We can use, this is where, you know, when we opt into someone's list and we have to give some details, like our email address, sometimes they'll be like, what's your first name? What's your last name? Where do you live? Or what's your birth date? Okay. It could be something like that. My phone's locked. Why does this happen? Here we go. So that's the second one, personalize it. 3, make a shocking statement. 4, promote curiosity. 5, make it rare. or scarce. You can talk about like fear of missing out, and not in like a yucky way. And then 6, make it emotional or tap into a desire point. So how this could look is, subject, ask a question, preview, promote curiosity. For example, ever climbed out the window on a date? And then the preview, you'll never guess what happened next, ...
Yeah.
Subject, personalize it. My Melbourne babes know. Preview, feeling like your skin is dry and lackluster with the low temps. So that's an example that an e-commerce company could use to personalize it based on sending stuff for Melbourne people. Subject, making shocking statement. It was a poo explosion. Preview, promote curiosity, and you'll never guess where it happened. So if you write that down, what I might do, I'll share it on my Instagram just so you can see. And that's basically what I do. And it's so funny because sometimes I will be writing a subject and I'll forget and I'll be like, shit, what do I do? And I'll actually go back to this and I'll be like, oh yeah, let me promote curiosity. And then I'll just be like, what can I do that? So I also struggle with this.
Yeah, perfect. I'm going to save that because that is seriously like, oh my God, I'll spend so long. I'm like, oh, Carly, that just sounds ridiculous. Like it just takes me so long. Anyway, thank you. Sarah asked, I'm writing my first consult client welcome sequence. Maybe top 3 things I should include across the emails.
Okay. So we always want to think about, I do have a framework for this that does feature in GGE. It's called 9 Things to Nut Out. One of the main ones is remembering where the subscriber is at and then that endpoint. Okay. So an example for this could be something like, I've gone to this Pilates studio and I just know from my clients and the questions that I used to get asked, people would ask things like, what do I wear? We don't want that to happen in the business or them to ring up and ask that question. So we always want to think about where is their starting point? What questions would they have? Answer more than you think that you would need to answer, and then consider that endpoint. Another thing I would consider is consider what the next step is and start to prime that person for the sale. So this could look like, Sarah, you could have something to come after that would be perfect. And you could just be like putting some little seeds of information, or be even like, a client that I'm working with long-term, this has kind of happened if you're doing like a case study or something like that. Another thing is just making sure that the emails also make your life easier. So we want to consider the client, but we also want to consider you. And it's so funny. I hate repeating myself. I hate it. I'm happy. I think I'm a real patient person, but I'm patient up until a point. And you never want someone who just asks a question that's never asked a question and you're having a bad day because you've answered this 6 times already to be like, So I always just think, how can I just make this super, super simple? And what I would do as well, I'm a huge fan of working on Post-it notes and colored Post-it notes, like just different colors for things. And I will put everything on the wall. So it could be email 1 is one color. And then on other Post-it notes, you could be like, okay, I need to give them a Zoom link, or I need to ask them questions. I need to do this. And then what you can do is you can have email 1, email 2, email 3, or however many there is. And then you can literally be like, okay, it would make sense for this to go in here and this to go in here and this to go in here. And this is really good, especially for visual people, because you can look at it and then be like, I am giving this person far too much to do in one email. We're going to have to send another one as well, compared to typing it in the software. Because I think sometimes it can be really hard for us to get a sense. It might feel like another step, but you think about it. If it's just adding 15 minutes, but it's making your life easier by 15 minutes every week over the course of a year, that adds up to like a huge amount of time. Does that help?
Yeah, for me it does.
Massively. Thank you. So good.
Yay.
So
Thank
smart.
you.
Oh my God. Now, literally, I've got my Notion on my on this side. I'm like, da, 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 da. I just moved from Flowdesk to MailChimp because I was like, oh no, I want to start selling a few things, not like anything crazy. I'm not like this e-com brand, but like a few bits and pieces. So I moved to MailChimp and it does my head in, but now I'm like, maybe I go back to Flowdesk, or maybe I'll take a look at the Mailer Lite. And now I'm like, Cool. I'm going to plan out my email newsletter that I'm going to send every 2 weeks and segments. So I'm really excited. Just adding to my to-do list. So it was great.
I love Flowdesk, and
Mm.
it's really good for people with a small list, and it's really good for people, anyone who is like a visual learner, it's amazing for, because it's just how it's set out, it's very simple. And I love how things are color coded. So
Yeah.
how we use segments is, I think I've got something like 50. There's a lot in there, but everything's color coded. So if you have ever joined a free email training, it's yellow. If you've joined anything that is like email waitlist, it's blue. So then what I can do is, I know that if I'm sending an email to, like, again, the people for this, I just got the yellows and the blues. And, you know, what we all need to remember as well, this is a big thing. If we want a growing team, our team may have to use the tech that we've selected. So this was why I actually didn't go to ActiveCampaign, because I was like, if I have a team and they don't know how to use it and something happens with me, or I'm so busy, I'm still going to have to do this. And I want to make decisions where I don't have to do a lot of things in my business. I want to sit in my zone of genius. And yes, that is still writing emails, but if I can have someone that can do the back end tech, of course, I'm going to get them to do that. So that's actually why I was like, I think we'll just stay with Flowdesk, even though it's not that robust. I wish there was better reporting. Apparently it's coming, but it just is very simple and user friendly.
It's so nice. So good. And that's a whole other masterclass we could have on like scaling and how to, yeah, but yeah, did anyone else have any more questions? No? Well, we will send, I'm going to get the recording, pop it into an email, and then send it off to everyone. And yeah, you'll have links to Peter's site and to our own. And like, please send me a message on Instagram if you have any questions at all in regards to the design, or even just anything in terms of design. It doesn't have to just be around email marketing, and I'm sure Peter's the same. So thank you so much for coming. It was really great to have everyone here, and yeah, I hope to see you guys again in the future for our next community class. Peter, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, thank you for coming. I've loved this. I could keep chatting, and I can't believe I've been talking for 90 minutes.
I know we always get so carried away in these classes, honestly. I'm like an hour to an hour and a half. But yeah, well, thank you so much, guys. And yeah, we will see you soon, hopefully.
Bye. Mwah.